Yo, 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 America. Everything Africa here, and listen, I know what you're thinking. Everything Africa, why you gotta rain on my parade? I'm about to pack my bags, head back to the motherland, escape this craziness. And hey, I get it, America's got its issues, no doubt. But before you book that one-way ticket, let's talk about why moving to Africa might not be the walk in the park you think it is. See, the idea of returning to Africa has been romanticized, right? It's this whole ancestral homeland, Lion King kind of vibe. But the reality on the ground, well, let's just say it's a little more complicated than that. We're about to dive deep, unpack this whole thing, and trust me, you're gonna wanna hear this. This ain't about discouraging anyone, all right? This is about having an honest conversation, because the last thing we need is more brothers and sisters disillusioned, disappointed, and broke from spending all their life savings on moving to Africa. We're about to break down the realities, the good, the bad, and the straight up ugly, so you can make an informed decision. And let me tell you, as someone who's experienced both sides, the reality can be a bit of a shock. Moving from one continent to another comes with its own set of challenges and adjustments. Stick around, it's gonna be a bumpy ride. Okay, let's be real, folks. How many times have you heard an African say, "Man, if I could just get to America, my life would be set"? In fact, if you were to ask many Africans if they'd choose to stay in Africa or move to the US if given the chance, well, let's just say the visa applications would pile up faster than a line for Beyoncé tickets. The allure of better opportunities, a higher standard of living, and the promise of a brighter future is hard to resist. They dreamin' about that American dream, about opportunities. And you know what? They have a point. Many African countries struggle with poverty, corruption, lack of infrastructure. Sometimes the problems run so deep, it feels like you're trying to put out a fire with a teaspoon. And when you see your own people struggling, it makes you wonder, right? There's an old African saying, even if you're in a good home, a bad one might still call your name. African American, a bad home is calling your name. Now, I'm not saying America is perfect, but it's like having a comfortable pair of shoes. They might be a little worn, a little scuffed, but they fit. You know what you're getting. You're trading those in for a brand new pair that might look fancy, but could end up giving you blisters. Just something to think about. Look, I know what you're thinking. Everything Africa, you're being too negative, girl. Africa is beautiful, it's my heritage. And you're right, it is beautiful, it is your heritage, and there's a richness there you won't find anywhere else. But let's not sugarcoat it. Living in Africa is not a vacation. This is about understanding the day-to-day realities. This is about knowing that the electricity might not always be on, that the roads might be rough, and that getting things done might require a whole lot of patience and maybe even a little bribe for the right people. It's not always pretty, folks. And here's the thing. This isn't about saying one place is better than the other. It's about being accustomed to a certain standard as an American, the best standard. It's about recognizing that what you might take for granted, clean water, reliable infrastructure, a functioning legal system, are things many people in Africa still struggle to access. It's a reality check, plain and simple, because moving to Africa with rose-tinted glasses on, that's a recipe for disappointment, frustration, and a whole lot of I wish I knew then what I know now. All right, let's talk money, people, because moving to Africa isn't just about packing your bags and hopping on a plane. It's about understanding the financial realities of living in a developing country. And spoiler alert, it might not be as cheap as you think. See, in America, a basic life is. You pay your rent, your utilities, and boom, you're good to go. But in many parts of Africa, it's a whole different ballgame. Think about it. Generators for when the power goes out, private security because, well, you know, and let's not forget about water system and water filtration systems because you can't always trust what's coming out of the tap. Trust me, those costs add up. And then there's the issue of infrastructure. In America, you've got roads, public transportation, reliable internet. In many parts of Africa, not so much. So you're looking at potentially buying a car, paying for private transportation, and let's not even get started on the internet bills. Suddenly, that affordable life in Africa isn't looking so affordable anymore, is it? Now, I'm not saying you can't live affordably in Africa, you absolutely can, but it requires a certain level of resourcefulness, adaptability, and let's be honest, a bit of a hustle that you might not be prepared for, as Africans cannot find jobs in their country. How are you going to make an income to pay for you living in Africa? And here's the kicker. As an African American, you might actually end up paying more for things. Why? Because you're seen as the rich relative from overseas, the one with dollars to spare. So that taxi fare, inflated, that market price, jacked up. It's like everyone's trying to get a piece of that American pie. Suddenly, that dream of living a simpler, more affordable life in Africa starts to feel like a constant game of financial dodgeball. And let's be real, nobody wants to spend their time haggling over every single purchase, right? It's exhausting. So before you pack your bags and chase that African sunset, make sure you've got your finances in check and your bargaining skills sharpened. You're gonna need them. Now, let's talk about healthcare. Because let's be honest, folks, none of us are getting any younger. And I see mostly retired African American considering moving to Africa. We all gonna need a doctor at some point, right? In America, you get sick, you go to the hospital, you get treated. You might complain about the bill later, sure, but hey, at least you're alive to complain, right? But in many parts of Africa, my friend, it's a different story. The healthcare system, let's just say it needs a bit more than a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. Underfunded, understaffed, and often the equipment looks like it came straight out of a museum. And if you want decent healthcare, you gotta go private. And private healthcare in Africa? Well, let's just say it's not for the faint of wallet. See, in America, you call 911, those sirens are wailing in minutes. Broken leg? Heart attack? They got you covered. Not everywhere in Africa is equipped to handle emergencies like that. Some places, you're lucky if you can find an ambulance that doesn't run out of gas on the way to the hospital. It makes you think, doesn't it? Are you really ready to leave behind a system that, for all its flaws, guarantees you emergency care? A system where if you break a leg, you don't have to worry about finding a bone setter who also may be a scammer? Just something to think about. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or should I say the American in the market? You see, when you step off that plane in Africa with your fresh kicks and your American accent, you become a walking, talking dollar sign. Prices magically inflate. Suddenly, that handcrafted wooden giraffe that was going for $10 is now $50, and that's their friend price. And it's not just the prices. Scams are everywhere, my friend. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel, Everything Africa, for more facts and stories from Africa. Don't forget to click the notification button so you'll know when I upload new videos. Thanks for subscribing. From fake tour guides to dodgy investment schemes, everyone's trying to get a piece of that American pie. In America, you've got laws to protect you from that kind of thing. Consumer protection? Yeah, they take that seriously. But in many parts of Africa, it's the Wild West out there. Now, I'm not saying everyone in Africa is out to get you, but there's a certain attitude towards foreigners in some places, a sense that you're just a walking ATM machine. And the reality is, poverty rate is high in Africa and Americans are associated with dollars. So some will do anything to cash in on your dollar. And you know what? It gets old and tiring. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel, Everything Africa, for more facts and stories from Africa. Don't forget to click the notification button so you'll know when I upload new videos. Thanks for subscribing. It gets tiring being seen as a dollar sign instead of a human being. It gets tiring having to haggle over every little thing. In America, for the most part, people treat you the same, whether you're buying a bagel or a Bentley. But in some parts of Africa, being a foreigner means you're constantly on guard. And that, my friends, is not a way to live. Okay, let's talk about work and services. You know, those little things that make life run smoothly. Like, for example, getting your internet fixed. In America, you call the cable company, you yell at a robot for a while, and eventually someone shows up with a smile. But in some parts of Africa, my friend, on time is a relative concept. And reliable service? Well, that's a mythical creature, like a unicorn riding a dragon while juggling flaming chainsaws. You want something done? Be prepared to hear maybe tomorrow more times than you can count. Be prepared for things to move at a glacial pace. And it's not just the waiting, it's the inconsistency of prices. It's the fact that the electrician who rewired your house last week might suddenly forget how much he charged to do a specific job and will charge you double the next day for the same job. It's the fact that you can pay for a service and never actually receive it. And good luck getting your money back, because in some places, there's no customer service line to call, no website to complain on. In America, you have laws that protect you as a consumer. You have recourse if someone doesn't deliver on a service. But in many parts of Africa, you're on your own. And that, my friends, can get very expensive.
Yo, we gotta talk about injustice, man. It's a heavy topic, but it's real. In America, for all its flaws, there's a legal system that, at least on paper, is supposed to protect everyone equally. Whatever experiences we have had with America's legal system, we can still boast that it is the best in the world. Sure, it doesn't always work out that way, we know that. We see it on the news every day. But at least the framework is there, and there are laws to correct that flaw. But in some parts of Africa, the justice system can feel like a cruel joke. It's like trying to get your car fixed with a banana peel and a prayer. You might get lucky, but chances are you're going to be disappointed. And for African Americans, it can be even worse. Imagine a system where your American passport is seen as a target on your back, a sign that says, "Rob me, I'm loaded." That's the reality for some African Americans who move back to the motherland. You get open arms and a warm welcome, but you also get open hands, as everyone wants you to put your dollars in their hands. It's a dose of reality that's colder than a penguin's backside. And that, my friends, is a real kick in the Ubuntu. Now let's be clear, this isn't about painting all of Africa with the same brush. There are amazing countries with fair systems in place. But there are also places where the scales of justice are a little off balance. In some cases, white individuals with ties to ruling parties have an advantage in the courts over a black man. Injustice doesn't just hurt the victim, it corrodes the entire system. And that's a dangerous game to play, no matter where you are in the world. Because the truth is, justice should be blind, not colorblind. So, you're ready to put down roots in the motherland, build your dream home, maybe even start a farm. Sounds idyllic, right? Well, hold your horses, my friend. Acquiring land in Africa can be a real trip, and I'm not talking about a safari. First off, be prepared to pay. And I'm not talking about a little finder's fee. We're talking double, sometimes even triple what locals would pay for the same plot of land. And here's the kicker, you might not even own the land outright. In many African countries, the concept of land ownership is a little different. You might be able to lease the land for a period of time, maybe 50 years. But after that, it's back to the drawing board. Now, I'm no real estate mogul, but that doesn't seem like a great return on investment, does it? Imagine trying to explain that to your grandkids. Sorry, little man, you can't inherit Grandpa's house. The lease ran out. But wait, there's more. Let's say you're willing to overlook the price tag and the whole lease situation. You're ready to build your dream home. Well, get ready to roll up your sleeves, because you're not just buying land, you're buying into an entire infrastructure project. Roads, electricity, water. You're gonna need to sort all of that out yourself. And don't even get me started on the permits. Let's just say bureaucracy in Africa is an art form. So, before you pack your bags and start practicing your new language, it's important to understand the lay of the land, literally. The dream of owning a piece of Africa is a powerful one, but like a fine print on a timeshare contract, the devil is in the details. Make sure you're ready to navigate the complexities of land ownership before you start laying those foundations.
You've finally done it. You've overcome the land hurdles, navigated the construction maze, and your beautiful African home is complete. Champagne popping, music playing, you're living the dream, right? Well, not so fast. Unfortunately, your success might attract some unwanted attention. You see, in some places, the sight of an African American thriving can stir up a potent cocktail of jealousy and resentment. Suddenly, you're facing accusations, rumors, whispers, people claiming you acquired the land illegally, that you're exploiting the locals, that your wealth must be ill-gotten. It's like a bad episode of Keeping Up with the Joneses, but instead of passive-aggressive shade, you're dealing with real-life consequences. These accusations, even if they're completely baseless, can have a real impact on your life. You might find yourself facing legal challenges, dealing with corrupt officials, or even facing threats to your safety. It's a harsh reality check that even in a place you consider home, your success can be met with hostility and suspicion. And it's not just the emotional toll. Defending yourself against these accusations can be financially draining. Legal fees, bribes, lost business opportunities, it all adds up. Suddenly, the dream of returning to the motherland can turn into a nightmare of fighting for your reputation and your livelihood. It's a reminder that even in the 21st century, the legacy of colonialism and the complexities of race and identity can cast a long shadow.
Look, none of this is to say that moving to Africa is a bad idea for everyone. For some, it might be the adventure of a lifetime, a chance to connect with their heritage and make a real difference. But it's crucial to go in with your eyes wide open, understanding the challenges and complexities that come with such a move. Africa is a continent of immense beauty, rich culture, and boundless potential. But it's also a continent grappling with poverty, corruption, and the legacy of colonialism. Before you pack your bags, ask yourself, are you prepared to navigate these complexities? Are you ready to face the challenges, not as a visitor, but as someone seeking to build a life? The call of Africa is a powerful one, but it's a call that requires careful consideration, thorough research, and a healthy dose of realism. The heart may yearn for the motherland, but the head must also have a say in this journey. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel, Everything Africa, for more facts and stories from Africa. Don't forget to click the notification button so you'll know when I upload new videos. Thanks for subscribing.